If you have access to a manual machine lathe, these are the items you're going to need. You're going to need scissors, you're going to need a pen, you're going to need a square, you're going to need a 1/4 inch diameter pin or steel rod, no shorter than 1 inch length, and you're going to need a tongue depressor or a popsicle stick. And you will also need the shrink tubing, which is this shrink tubing item right here is the one we recommend. It's McMaster Carr item 7856K22. This one is black, but you can do a choice of whatever color you like if you don't want to use black. Now, first thing is we're going to mark the material to 5 inches length. And then we're going to cut it square. The next operation we do will be on the lathe. Once you have your material cut, you'll take your Spidergrips handle. You can see this is relatively worn. The rubber has come off. You'll take your shrink tubing, slide it over it so it's equally spaced between the hilt and the end cap. And you place the pin in the hole in the bottom, just to hold it in place on the lathe. All right, one thing we didn't mention before, which is probably the most crucial thing you need, is a heat gun. You need a heat gun, a standard industrial type 120 volt heat gun. Now on the machine lathe, you want to set the speed at your lowest setting. We have this machine set at 60 RPMs. You're going to go very slow because it's going to rotate as you apply the heat and shrink the shrink tubing around the handle. So now that we have the pin in the handle, we're going to put it in the chuck. And we're going to make sure that we have it equally spaced between the hilt and the end cap. And then with our heat gun at the highest setting, we're going to begin to shrink tube it. So now we're going to turn the lathe on. You start in the middle and work your way out on both ends. And as you can see, it is beginning to shrink around it. You want to go all the way to each end. You don't have to worry about melting or overheating any of the parts of the actual handle grip. It won't be affected by it. So as you see, this shrink tubing is nicely forming around the contours of the handle. You want to hold the heat gun. Once you get it shrunk around the handle, you want to hold the heat gun very close to it so it gets it very hot and shrunk around it. This is when you take your popsicle stick, you want to press up against here, and what this does is this just kind of helps give you a decent finish on it and hide some of the bumps of the damaged rubber underneath. push it up against each end, against here, and give it one more hit with the heat gun. Okay, now that the shrink tubing has been applied and shrunk and everything, you want to leave it on the lathe and let it dry at room temperature for 10 minutes so it's completely cooled. Okay, now that you've applied the shrink tubing to the handles and it's cool to the touch, we're going to cut it off now. We're going to trim the edges, and you want to use a regular straight razor blade. It's better than an X-Acto knife because it's thinner and it's straighter, and you'll get a straighter cut with this. So we want to start off, we want to basically locate where the shrink tubing meets with the hilt. We want to start trimming here. Press in firmly and work your way around it like so. And when you get to the flat part of the hilt, you want to basically just cut all the way across, going as close to the aluminum as you can, like so, and then meet it with the other end, like you did. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. We're going to kind of figure out where we're going to meet with the plastic end cap. I'm going to start cutting. Try not to cut into the end cap to avoid damaging it. And press firmly and carefully through the shrink tubing, but not quite into the rubber padding too much underneath. You want to use a nice sharp razor blade. Don't use an old used one. Use a new sharp one. And once you get to the other end, it should be complete. Now, cut away most of this right here, and it comes right off. Same thing on this side. Cut as much of it away as you can without scratching the aluminum, and then peel away the thing. And there you go. Touch this up a little bit right here. And there you go. You have a repaired hand grip. All right, now let's take one little picture here of the three of them. And as you can see here, here is the progression. It starts out with a damaged Spidergrips handle with the bare foam exposed. Here is the shrink tubing applied to it before it's trimmed. And here's the finished product after it's trimmed. As you can see, it looks very nice. It's a little bit different, but it still looks good. And this serves as a very easy and inexpensive way to repair your Spidergrips handle. And it leaves a durable cover over it that has a nice feel to it, and you can still feel the cushioning from the original pad underneath it. It feels similar to like an iPhone handle, and it should last you a very, very long time, and it's an inexpensive, easy way of doing it yourself.